I was gonna make a Skinwalker thread since I've been pissing off the same bunch for about 4 years now, so thank you Anon for making one for me. For context, I was raised on a homestead, volunteered for my local search and rescue for a few years and have been in the armed forces for 4 years and have seen a lot of fuck shit, so not a lot phases me, and I used to listen to that one well-known search and rescue creepypasta on YouTube anytime I had dark search and rescue calls, so as Anon said, maybe that's why I run into fuck shit, although I usually keep my resin and white sage on me when I go in the woods for good measure and employ staves when I feel they're needed. I'm gonna get a hefty drink, take a shower, and will post my recent experience with one. However, if any of you guys have any questions about skinwalkers to the extent I can answer them, or got stories of your own, let's share 'em. First story, live in the Pacific Northwest. There's a half-abandoned town 2 hours from where I live where most of the people living there or who have visited the area always get bad vibes. There's also an old mine and some related structures that my friends and I used to always like to go to in high school for day hikes and camping. About 2 years into having that be our usual spot, and specifically when we got firearms, we just all had bad juju experiences up there. We all stopped going up there entirely, and I didn't return until after I got out of active military service and went into the reserves. Some stuff changed, but for the most part the area was untouched as it was before. The most vandalism you saw was some bullet holes. Various places people made campfires and names etched into the walls of the housing building. Fuck shit happens around that area when I visit or my friends do, but that's for another post. Main point to capture is I've pissed this fucker in the woods off multiple times, and it likes to get back at me by fucking with my head or my friends' heads. In my opinion, skinwalkers are more so very territorial and are like an extremely intelligent and equally sadistic Moraio when it comes to their curiosity and playfulness, for lack of a better term. This means, at least from what I can tell, they like to play with people's heads to gauge them, see what they're up to, or if they're worth the trouble of encountering. A skinwalker isn't going to go out of its way to fuck with someone unless they feel they need to or are bored. Now time for the current story. Visiting friends after getting off month-long active duty operational support order. They wanna do spooky shit. Ask them if they wanna go to designated spooky mine. Establish comms, and take a 2-truck convoy up to the woods. Party consists of myself, my natty guard pal I'll call John, my range buddy I'll call Jax, and their mutual colleague Al pal who I don't like but respect, who we'll call Pretzel. Pretzel constantly bitches about driving on a mountainside backroad while Jax and I do radio checks and hot mic for 2 hours, get up to the housing building at 0130 and set up our VIX to easily get the fuck out, clear the housing building, because even though it's technically abandoned, when I used to do SAR calls it wasn't uncommon for a hardy homeless guy or dude who got sick of society to threaten people to go away or take potshots at us with a shit Remington 700. Building is empty, offer the lads Coke or White Claws, and they want to go up the mountain to see the actual mine. Everyone is strapped with comms and kit except for Pretzel, and we have cam lights to keep tabs on where everyone is. Entire hike up we see frogs and shit. Joke about and the moolah's light. Get up to the ridge where the mine is and see 6 solar lamps. These were the ones you have on stakes and drive into the ground, and they're just placed randomly around the ground near the mine entrance with no pattern or order. Keep in mind these lamps usually only work for 3 weeks to maybe a couple months before they shit the bed, and these puppies look almost brand new. Additionally, there's a large metal sheet on the ground near the mine entrance that resembles what a bunker door would look like. Not that it was. I didn't have time to check however, but that's the best visual representation I have for it. Pop our lights mounted to our rifles to get a better view of the area. My natty guard pal and I have contact 3s on, which enhance your auditory sensitivity, and hear a voice a bit ahead of us behind the trees say something in a very low voice. We confirm we both heard it and decide to get the other 2 out of there. On the drive back I ask him what he heard, since I'm fairly deaf and only heard a vague sound that sounded like a sentence. Bounce back and forth and agree it was either "can I help you" or "can you help me." This would already be weird enough, but this voice was uncomfortably low and hollow. Recap the night and we both note the pucker factor. The drive up until we hit paved road was at a constant 6. with a max of 8. Pretzel hates us now. Jax wants to go up again and my buddy and I are trying to drink ourselves to sleep. BC out hairs are still on edge since we came down. Good news was there were no fuck you carcasses, it was pretty uneventful, and didn't charge at us. I think if anything it was trying to see if my friends were good prey or something. I wanna go back up and apologize to it or come to some respectful terms with it when I can before I move because it's brought me a lifetime of stories and adrenaline. And I feel bad for shooting at it so many times. But then again charging at someone in the woods while screaming isn't going to bring a friendly encounter, but also getting hammered and screaming fuck you pussy ass Skinwalker while pissing in front of where it hangs out isn't nice either. How would you lads recommend coming to terms with the Skinwalker without dying?
If you're serious about attempting this, bring a large fresh animal corpse, like a cow, horse, deer, or large pig. It would probably love it if you brought it a more exotic animal, one it probably hasn't had a chance to eat, but the important thing is to feed it. Go to wherever you've encountered the thing the most, wait until you hear it, then put the Skinwalker food down and yell to it that you've left it a gift, and that you'd like to communicate if possible after it is done eating. Maybe leave a whiteboard and a marker in case it doesn't want to or isn't able to communicate verbally. Also, I recommend being ready to immediately get in the truck and leave the area if necessary, maybe even yelling from inside the truck. Once you yell to it that you left it a gift, you can try camping about a kilometer away if you want instead of leaving altogether, but it might be best to leave and come back in 12 hours. If you do this, would filming it with a hidden camera be a terrible idea?
OP here, I think it'd be counterproductive to it, but maybe seeing if it'd let me record it or at the very least draw it.
If I would ever be alone at a forest, I have a knife on me for sure, and in such a situation, if I was sure I'm being stalked, I do the whole horror movie come out thing. I would be willing to talk to entities, but when you're alone and stalked by a being that doesn't say a word, I take it as a death threat.
I usually always carry my carbine with M855A1 rounds in 3 to 4 mags as well as my handgun for when I drive, but yeah nah, this fucker is getting smarter and smarter. If I were you I'd invest in a decent rifle. BC a knife won't do much especially if it has a decent fur coat. If anything else the noise is a deterrent and you can respond to any of its noises with a rifle burst like how you loudly clap at a dog after it barks annoyingly to get it to shut up. To add more context, I've had 7 interactions with this thing in the woods aside this time, and the gist of those was, 1, screams at my high school pal and I in a mix of cougar, elk and some animal I've never heard before, then tries to flank us to drive us off the trail and down into the valley in the bush tickets below, mag dump 2x and 6 mags at it while going down the mountain away from it. 2, get drunk with a buddy in my unit who is babysitting me and convince him we should go up near there, shoot out of his car at where I heard it last while pissing out the car window shit talking it as mean as I can, hit not 1 but 2 deer who did dead sprints towards his truck. Got a doe and a buck for the cost of 2 bullets and an insurance payment. 3, winter, take 2 boot fuck guys from my unit on a field kit winter hike as a favor to my section head. Plan was to have a 7-mile round trip hike since one guy lost his cold weather boots and only has the hot weather ones so he didn't want him getting frostbite. We overshot and hiked 20 miles without realizing, and barely managed to hike back to the housing building to try to build a fire, get arsenic poisoning from pressure-treated wood we used and wander back at 2,300 tripping balls on arsenic. All of us heard weird fucking noises on the hike back but we wrote them off as side effects. 4, driving with one of the boot fuck dudes from 3 to see if our shitshow from the prior winter is still where we left it and also to pick up a mag he lost in the snow because he's a boot fuck. Hear a girl scream bloody fucking murder halfway into retracing our steps. Immediate level 10 pucker factor, not a cougar. We can hear this chick literally screaming shit like please, help me, oh god. IT's coming. Other incoherent wails and babbles. Sounds were as distorted as tonight's excursion. Fuck off back to our Vic after 3 or 4 repetitions. I have like 2 more. But hey, I don't wanna spam, fuck it. Fifth story is interesting. 3 months ago, industry pal from LA flies up to have me test body armor his company is making and to catch up. He always wanted to go Pacific Northwest in the woods, so I take him to, you guessed it, the spooky mine. It's dark by the time we get up due to den taking longer and showing him the areas leading up to the mine. There's an abandoned truck sitting next to the housing building. Thinking we're gonna be up there for a bit, I start a fire where the engine block used to be before some yee or some shit jacked it for himself, and prep some snacks for him, and I run over firearm safety and other basics with him because Californian. Do about an hour of dry fire drills with him before showing him how to do 2-round transition drills. During this time he keeps saying how he doesn't feel right being out here at night, but I don't really care. We both load up mags with 2 rounds. I tell him I'm gonna do the first transition and all he has to do is watch and repeat. As soon as I squeeze off the first round we hear similar screams to the first experience, but it's a mix of cougar, elk, bear, and what you'd imagine the sound of a man having his soul drained from his body sound like. The scream was a sustained one for about 8-12 seconds. It's about 500 to 600 meters behind us, around the bend of the mountain. For context, the mountain has a 100-grade face, or about a 45-degree steepness to it. LA buddy immediately fucks off into my truck and I follow. Almost forget about the truck on fire and run back to put it out. The thing is still screaming in that loud as fuck garbled scream, but shorter iterations. It's closed about 200 meters of 100-grade mountain face in 90 seconds. I'm already in grug brain mode, so I dump half of my mag in its general direction to try to suppress it like it's a Terry or some shit. The thing immediately switches to the noise of a dog barking and slows down some. Put fire out and douse the ashes. While I'm putting out the ashes with every non-flammable fluid in my truck I pick up that it's the same 2 dog barks over and over again. Big think.jpg, dump another 2 mags in the direction of the barks, doesn't do shit this time. Hop in my truck and drive us out. Can still hear it. LA buddy is still freaking the fuck out, asking me like 50 questions at once. Eventually repeats the same question until I respond. Anon, are there any houses up in those mountains? Nah, LA bro, every house in the town you saw on the drive up. Anon, I think there is. Why? Turns out the moon was red that night, and my LA bro mistook it for a fire or some shit to try to rationalize the dog noises. Buddy refuses to discuss it anymore until we get back to the city, so I play of monsters and men to try to cheer him up. Apparently he still gets nightmares from that interaction occasionally, and will angrily call me when he wakes up from them asking why I decided it was a good idea to take him up there. I usually joke that I lost my humanity in 2014 thanks to a shit deployment, so maybe it is an advantage, but I've never seen someone so shaken up by an interaction like that. It literally just told us to fuck off and tried to cover its ass with a shit alibi, or maybe it wanted to show off how much it's adapted.
Would have been a good story, except you explain you're doing 2 R&D transition drills and then you talk about how you're interrupted in the middle of the drill and mag dump your current mag, which should have 1 bullet in it, and then 2 subsequent full mags, which, considering Kali laws about mag cap, I'm surprised you even had them loaded full to start with.
I think you missed the part where I mentioned the Pacific Northwest, and yeah, nah, that'd be a good catch. However, you'd have to remember that if you've ever instructed 2 road transitions, you generally load 1 mag with 2 RDS, leave the rest of your mags in your rig as they were and let the instructee do most of the heavy lifting after you give them a demo. After we fucked off to the truck, I popped a fresh mag in and still had my 2 mags on my microfight rig. Unless you need to do timed drills, it doesn't make sense to not take your time when doing fundamental drills, even if it means loading an empty mag after each transition. I'm from the PNW as stated in the Greentext. My homie, as also stated, is from LA, and because I don't trust Callis with guns I went Barney mode with him to ensure nobody got a hole through foot. As for the mag, I usually only run 1 designated mag for 2-round transitions unless I'm doing reload transitions. But generally it's against my better interests to unload an entire mag when I can just use 1 of my 3 empty mags in my range bag, and when I fucked off to my truck I popped in a fresh mag with the second round of the first mag still chambered. Good catch though. I apologize for the confusion that might have added.